landladies of the floor. Ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. Yeah, I'm very tired. Before I start, can I just go with a quick rebuttal? Your speaker said in a point of rebuttal to our team about realms, is that God exists in a different realm. Now, if we think about realms, if you can show me any example of a physical realm, I'd like to see that. Because bar physical realms, all we have is what we can imagine. We don't have anything that we can see, so we go to imagination. And that's all that God really is. It's the imagination that gives us hope. The imagination in believing in ourselves, which isn't God. To slightly contradict my own speaker's argument as well, he talks about perfection, the fact that there is nothing that is perfect, but there is. There's nature, there's the natural world, there's the life cycle, there's the predator and there's the prey, there's the water cycle. They all live in perfect harmony with one another because they were created by science. Nothing created them, there was nothing a physical being did not put them together, they just happened naturally. And it's the natural world that has deluded people into thinking that there must have been a God. No, thank you, but yeah.
I think you have undermining the concepts and arguments there, saying that nature's perfect. Your previous speaker has been banging on about the typhoon and the terrible suffering. So surely nature is flawed, like everything, because you couldn't have a perfect world.
True, nature is flawed, but nothing, you know. Nature is flawed, but the workings of nature are still intact. As one thing goes wrong, another thing corrects it. There must have been a reason why that went wrong, and it's just a cycle. You know, there are accidents that happen in any cycle, but nature is so beautiful that it eluded people in the past that there must have been a God to create it, even though it just happens all by itself. That's what I'm trying to say. Also, he talks about enlightenment as finding God, and I think you'll actually find this enlightenment as in finding oneself, not God. And you also said that religion and science answer different questions, and I surely think that religion and science answer the big two main questions. Where did we come from, and what created everything, I think. Thank you. On to my argument. To understand, is God dead, we need to think of the predecessing question, is God alive, or was God ever alive? Point of information. Psychologists would say, what does it mean to exist? Unfortunately, they're not very successful in coming up with an argument so far, so we'll put that to the side. They'd also say that you need self-awareness to be alive. Biologists would say that you need to respire and reproduce to be alive. Computer programmers debate this question, the work with artificial intelligence, saying that giving a deep illusion of being alive is to be alive. Can we hold those two words? Deep illusion. Illusion. No, thank you. What the proposition will try to say is that God is alive inside of us. So, we boil it down. If something is alive, it is like me. That's fair, isn't it? So, in my case, God is not alive. God does not exist because I'm an atheist. But for thousands of years, people have claimed that it has existed in them. But was it imposed? Was that really their view, or was that the view of somebody else's imposed onto them? Only recently have we all been able to be at the same academic level. We've all had an education from a young age, and we've all been brought up knowing the world around us, looking at politics and being able to understand it. People for the past hundreds of years haven't had that. They haven't been able to understand the workings other than what they do. A farmer would farm. They wouldn't look at politics. They would only know what their parents knew. So that's what I'm saying is, what was it like before? When your family was dying, when your child had died before the age of 5, you wanted to hang on to hope. An ideological figure that would tell you things would get better is perfect. That's great. And you listen to a priest sprouting something from the King James Version of the Bible, nodding your head because it sounds very important. But people realised then that actually the King James Version was too hard to understand, so they got the English Standard Version. And before that, they were reading it from a Latin book. So who actually understood the Bible? who understood God's teachings before that we had the academic or even the translation to grasp hold of it? I would say practically no one. So God revolves around faith. So long as faith is alive, then so is God. And the only thing that can quench faith, I guess, is proof. Proof disputes faith. So why, over the past 100 years, has atheism risen by nearly 66 atheism risen by nearly 66%? Only 33% of Europeans would say that God has a presence in their life. So what's changed? What has taken away the faith? What has been the proof? Well, over the past 100 years, what are the scientific discoveries that we've made? We've looked at the atom, we've looked at cells, we've started to understand who we really are, not what we could be, or what we might be, according to a guy in the sky. Yeah.
You're saying that atheism has risen majorly over the past 100 years. However, in many countries, like Islamic and Hindu countries, such as India, one of the most religious countries in the world, atheism or theism has almost remained constant over this period. And so I feel it's incredibly restricted to just focus on some countries in which atheism has risen. We need to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, I understand that. And firstly, if I drag it back to the point of, we're talking about Christianity. Secondly, if I talk about what is the link between us a couple of hundred years ago and India, it's poverty, isn't it? So long as people are poor, they'll go for hope. They'll go for anything that can give them hope. They won't really try to do anything about it. They'll just think. They'll think really hard that something could get better, that something will help them to get better. So proof has happened. We know what we are and we know how we're made. And also a choice has become. Before, a couple of hundred years ago in England, if you believed in science, you were cast out, you were killed, you were executed. You had to believe in Christianity. That was the only way. You were persecuted for your choice. So as people realise now that science made sense, that they could actually choose science, they did. They saw the proof. Faith went. The realisation came that all God was a figure of the imagination. The public had been deceived, forced to believe by a minority of priests, telling them what they were. So when given a fact, they had an epiphany. Thank you.